Hello everyone, hope you all are doing fairly well today. I wanted to make this special video about episodic ataxia that I have not covered yet. It's gonna be the unpredictability of episodic ataxia. Okay. One thing that people don't seem to realize about episodic ataxia is truly how, and even online when you research episodic ataxia, it's totally like misleading because it leads you to believe it's not really that dangerous, or that it's not really it doesn't shorten life expectancies. It's not really like a serious ataxia. But when you come to think about it, episodic ataxia can be indeed dangerous. And that's what I want to cover in this video. I just want to share my experience with this and translate it into a way that you'll understand it and how the episodic ataxia works. Okay, so like I was saying, it doesn't seem to shorten life expectancies per se, like some other types of ataxias that have consistent progressive symptoms, and just that. It's not unpredictable, you don't have these crazy symptoms up and down, and like with episodic ataxia, you just slowly progress over, and usually a number of years, but I mean, progression rate just depends on the type of ataxia and the individual. But with episodic ataxia, it can be very unpredictable, and this can indeed be dangerous. Okay, and even online fails to say, how dangerous it can be. I have not seen anything online saying anything about the dangers of having episodic ataxia or anything related to that. But when you come to think about it, the person experiences sporadic bouts, sometimes called attacks or episodes, and it could be very unpredictable and sometimes aggressive. So a person with episodic ataxia may suddenly feel okay and have a normal walking gait. They don't appear to look like they have ataxia at all, or even they're walking around, they're just like everyone else. Okay, they look like everyone else, they blend in with the crowd, kind of like having an invisible illness similar to that. And well, that can change from one moment to the next in extremes with episodic ataxia. So a person may go around and suddenly be fine, and then suddenly be hit with all kinds of symptoms that can be, for one, aggressive. So these symptoms tend to come on and be very strong and aggressive, and you can become seriously impaired when they happen. So even though you look fine in between your episodes, like you do not have ataxia, yet some people still continue to have very mild symptoms, which can be seen on the neurological exam when you go in to see your neurologist in between having episodes, as many of us, with episodic ataxia tend to usually go see your doctor when you're free from having episodic ataxia, the episodes or attacks. The neurologist would normally do an exam and would see these permanent milder symptoms. Yet these milder symptoms can gradually worsen over a number of years, because some people develop cerebellar atrophy in the back of the brain, which is like a deterioration and shrinkage on the cerebellum, which can be seen in brain scans. Some people with episodic ataxia do develop that, and along with that, the deterioration can gradually worsen your symptoms. So, but yet, the unpredictability, the person continues to experience episodes. So it's not necessarily a mild ataxia or a slowly progressive ataxia. It can be associated with that, but the unpredictability can be quite chaotic and dangerous. And you kind of have to monitor your symptoms when you're doing certain dangerous activities. For example, you could be driving a car. First of all, you can be driving a car and have, let's say you are diagnosed with episodic ataxia. You could be driving a car. You feel fine when you're driving, and then all of a sudden you get hit with all these debilitating symptoms out of nowhere. Symptoms can be triggered by various things. Maybe you had a lot on your mind and that brought it out. Maybe you were under a lot of stress that day and that brought it out. Maybe you were doing too much in a day. You were running around from this store to that store, and you were fine for a moment, but that brought out the symptoms. And you were driving when the symptoms came about. This can be dangerous, especially if it's associated with vertigo and lack of muscle control and even seizures, because you know how dangerous seizures can be, and seizures can be associated with episodic ataxia. A person with episodic ataxia normally experiences sporadic, unpredictable yet sometimes aggressive attacks of ataxia, where they may experience lack of muscle control, coordination, balance, nausea, vomiting, vertigo, dizziness, sometimes seizures, and sometimes paralysis affecting one side of the body, speech problems where they have trouble talking, they have trouble coordinating their speech. You tend to slur when you try to talk. I know for me, sometimes during my episodes I tend to slur, and sometimes my voice even changes when I have an episode. And it just affects every muscle in your body. It does not only affect your legs. Episodic ataxia affects your coordination of your arms. So I've had episodes where I've was carrying something and I would be suddenly hit with an episode, I'd automatically drop it because I could not carry what I was carrying. I could not coordinate my muscles, my arms at the time when I was carrying the object. So I've had instances where I've had to drop things because of being hit with an episode, where previously, I would carry things and I was doing fine with it. People with episodic ataxia can have persistent attacks as well. So it's not like you have an occasional attack necessarily and then the rest of the time you're okay. Some people with episodic ataxia can have persistent episodes. This can range multiple times a day or even daily. Sometimes they're not as frequent, so this can be, depending on the individual, let's say twice a month or something. It just depends. So with episodic ataxia, so it's not really the disease itself, it's just depends on the individual that experiences it, how often the episodes tend to happen. With some types of ataxias, some episodes tend to last a very long time versus being very brief, even though the episodes sometimes in some types of episodic ataxias tend to be very brief. They could have up to multiple attacks a day. So it's like, it just really depends. But my purpose of making this video is, I don't think a lot of people and it doesn't even say out there how dangerous episodic ataxia can be, even though it doesn't cause heart complications like in people with Friedreich's ataxia. Or it doesn't, the disease itself doesn't shorten life expectancy. Like some spinocerebellar ataxias and Friedreich's ataxia. But yet, episodic ataxia can be very unpredictable, aggressive, and dangerous. Even when you're driving a car and you're suddenly hit, maybe you're by yourself and you're on a walk and you suddenly become impaired. These things you gotta watch when it comes to episodic ataxia. And I know many people, like if it happens to me, and I still drive because I know this, when I'm on the road, I tend to do my best to pull over when I can. But a lot of people with episodic ataxia tend to experience this brain fog during the episodes, meaning that they can't really think that clear, which can also be a dangerous aspect in episodic ataxia. If you can't think clearly and you are on the road, you're driving and you're having vertigo and all these things. I have trouble personally functioning up here in my head when I'm in an attack of my episodic ataxia. It's like this brain fog where I'm unable to think clearly. And during an attack, I just lose all functioning, basically, sometimes. You know, sometimes if I'm supposed to, let's say, pull over in my car, I'm supposed to put the four-ways on, right? So this may take me a while to figure out during an episode. Because I can't, like, up here I can't really think that clear. I'm just totally impaired. So it's just, this is just something I wanted to go over. When you're doing dangerous activities with episodic ataxia, it can very well be dangerous. And I wanted to make this video to raise awareness and, you know, just to put it out there and my experience with it and my story and the things I know about it based off of my experience and whatever. So anyways, I think that's all I wanted to go over. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you now.